Thank you, Bob, for your introduction. This presentation covers the role of stakeholders, expectation in relation to whole system modeling, why we need to understand stakeholders' view and their expectation, how do we do it, and what are these expectations, and what does this mean to policymakers and regulators. In our literature review, we have found in successive policy documents that cost, carbon reduction, security of supply were the three goals that we need to achieve. In 2017, with the plummeted energy price from renewables, the notion of flexibility becomes part of the crucial debate in considering energy transitions. We are interested in what priority stakeholders give to the current policy goals and the extent to which their vision of the future energy system reflect these priorities. Within the system architecture frame, identifying stakeholders' expectation is the initial step to establishing a good foundation upon which system architecting can proceed. Grounded on the confirmation of the result of a literature review, we had enough background information to begin our process of finding out what stakeholders expect to see in a decarbonized energy system and how they imagine it to be. The conversation focused on what they see as priorities of system objectives is constrained and how can different technology be deployed. In other words, these views and expectations on the current and future heat technology for not only decarbonizing energy system, but how these systems reflect the priorities of the policy goals. There are 4 steps to reach to 2 important outputs for system architecting. They are top-level requirements and expectation, information-relevant concepts of operation, ConOp for the future system, but we're not going to go into it here. This table summarizes the method, concept, and tools used in our investigation. A quick note needs to be made about both Q methodology and concept evaluation. These are rarely used in energy research. They are both primarily qualitative methods supported by rigorous statistical techniques. Unlike conventional surveys or interviews, they are designed for exploring the structure of shared subjectivity with small number of participants. Now, system authority. Who are the system authority? Here, in the liberalized market economy, how we arrive to decision made about the energy system is complex. We conceptualize the stakeholders' contribution to this process broadly as actors operate across different key institutions. Each of these categories could be unpacked to involve many other institutions associated with these functions. For example, the category of policy could be base, as most of you know, but also be of that of the Treasury. Regulator and market hold key positions in influencing policy, but market can also include industrialists who manufacture physical components of the infrastructure, as well as managing the energy exchange, working on capital flows and investment, etc. The incumbents refers to large and small energy suppliers such as gas, electricity, and renewables. The knowledge industry here consists of academia, independent consultants, etc. These days, independent consulting firms contribute directly to policies. These actors have an institutionalized authority to construct realities. This means that they should have the potential to structure the condition of action for other actors and should have expertise that was socially institutionalized in relation not only to an organization, but also to specific problems. In other words, our experts should be capable of envisioning future energy systems, of articulating the potential of the technology available for decarbonizing heat in the UK, and to be in a position to influence others in the energy sector. Who are these experts? We have 11 out of 20 experts we contacted respond to our invitations. This includes high-level policymakers, regulators, industrialists, energy system decision-makers, senior scientists in non-governmental and professional and trade organizations, experienced academics and energy advisors and consultants. You can see these experts are located across the Sankey diagram as the background here. Before the conversation began, we presented the 5 policy goals as flashcards to them and asked them if they could rank them in order of priority. They ranked data with subjected to factor analysis, and the conversation were recorded and transcribed and analyzed. So this is a cube map in front of you. From the factor analysis, the clusters have emerged. 2 clusters have been merged. Expert P1, P7, P3, P4 appear in a tight cluster in blue, close to the right-hand end of the horizontal axis. Having analyzed the qualitative content of their responses, we characterize this factor as adaptive approach. Expert in P10, P11, and 2 are clustered on the vertical axis in green. The priorities, idea, and expectation are obviously quite different from those clustered in blue. Content analysis of the qualitative data suggests a set of ideas that are more dynamic and pluralistic. We characterize this factor as transformative. What is the adaptive approach? If the Q map represents the scaffolding of idea, what the experts have said, furnish it with rich and nuanced contents. This content reflects some of the current debates around options for heat. They cover a spectrum of the technical possibilities and how this could be deployed as we work towards zero carbon heat. The adaptive approach is cautious about viewing heat supply largely through electrification. Resilience is at the top of second priority, and it is strongly associated with transformation of an existing gas grid into a hydrogen network. The key role of hydrogen is seen as secure supply to keep the lights on, so to speak, as well as dealing with the apparently intractable problem and uncertainty entailed in improving the thermal efficiency of UK housing stock, as well as ensuring the performance of individual heat pumps and managing the intermittency of renewables. Deploying hybrid forms of heat technology such as gas and hydrogen-ready boilers, particularly for domestic market, through the gas grid is perceived both to contribute to resilience and to ease the requirement for tightly coordinated intervention across the energy system. With resilience at top of the priority, flexibility is seen as just another aspect of resilience, a means to an end and an enabler of resilience. In the operational context, hydrogen is seen as providing the large-scale flexibility needed in the electricity system through a technology that behaves like current gas-fired power stations. This approach does not appear to ignore the other conversion technologies. Individual electric and hybrid heat pumps and heat networks are seen as having a part to play. However, for hydrogen proponents, their role is limited. So what is transformative approach? The transformative approach can be characterized by a more diverse pattern of priorities, with equity generally ranked higher than other goals. This could be the fact that some of them work closely with consumers. Experts here were reluctant to put resilience above flexibility. Some said resilience is related to cost. You get what you pay for. System cost is related to the cost of technology in the market. They see heat pumps is high on capital costs for the individuals, but sees using heat pumps in heat network plays a significant role in the system resilience as well as flexibility, providing there is an increase in critical mass of these networks. The experts who had longest experience in heat networks offer historical evidence of their evolvability, although this is in the context of another country. He suggests that because of economies of scale, they can update the technology without needing to intervene further in individual dwellings. He also acknowledged that the success of heat network in this country was the result of government support through low interest rate. However, hydrogen was strongly advocated by one expert aligned with these factors. Although the visions projected here is more pluralistic, it was unclear from these experts how these different conversion technology work together with different fuel sources. What's overlapped and what the contesting among their opinion is the concept of the last mile and the need for storage are highlighted in both clusters. The term last mile is articulated by proponents of heat networks. It highlights the decision that must be made around potential role of heat networks to replace gas and electricity distribution systems for the purpose of supplying heat to buildings. The introduction of this third factor at the mesoscale within the energy system would open up additional opportunities for realizing economy of scale with respect both to operation and integration of storage and other technologies, and thereby contribute to increased system flexibility and resilience. Both approaches view storage as key to future decarbonization, but differ in respect of what forms of storage to deploy, and whether to adapt or transform the existing energy system to accommodate them. We suggested that the resolution of this seemingly contesting narrative could be explored within an overarching system architecture framework, as the insight provided here provide a future very fertile ground for generating hypotheses. Other contesting issues are cost and equity. Cost is implicated in all options. There was a general sense that equity would be easier to deal with if system costs could be kept low. Beyond this, there was a range of views on how equity might be conceptualized and dealt with, some conflated it with affordable heat, others viewing it as a barrier to technology choices, yet others viewing it as an issue that could be set aside for unidentified others to deal with. One expert argued for extending the concept of equity to include the implication of decisions about heat for cost to society in the present and over future generation. Here, so what the wider circle of stakeholders thinks? As Stuart Pugh said, concepts are often best generated by individuals, but concept selection enhancement is often best performed in groups. Having generated some idea from the Pugh interviews, the next step was to manifest these ideas in modeling and scenarios. Last September, we invited over 70 stakeholders to the concept evaluation workshop. After scenarios were presented to them, they were given a Pugh score sheet and were asked to compare 4 hypothetical dominant systems: hydrogen, heat networks, energy efficiency, and hybrid, pairwise to comparison with heat pump dominant as a reference system. This comparison had to be made against criteria of resilience, flexibility, cost, equity, and evolvability. It turns out that the wider group of stakeholders appear to favor system of hybrid technologies in this comparison. However, there was no clear indication from the group conversations about what this hybrid system should look like. Again, this is a golden topic for further research within the ESA frame. So, what do these results mean to policy and governance? At this point, the pronouncement of the implication can only be tentative. If system resilience and security of supply are of top priority, there will be policy and regulatory interventions, in particular those that are aimed at promoting large-scale investment in emerging hydrogen market and deployment of high upfront cost and no variable costs, technologies such as district heating network and individual heat pumps. And if the emergent hybrid regime is to become a driving force of the transition, we need to explore further the changing dynamic in market design and reform associated with the hybrid regime that combined a role of market coordination with strong public governance. So to conclude this presentation, I would like to bring all of us back to the real world. Major transformations are happening in electricity sectors. The priority to decarbonize as well as keeping the lights on implies investing in an ever more capital-intensive system. Which approach? So more work will need to be done in terms of electricity, gas, and hydrogen market design, or will we support a belated growth of district heating network with state intervention? Do we need a new regulatory framework or bolder policy decision to transform the current system? Thank you for listening.